Traditionally, peaked caps ornamented with distinctive double curve motifs have always been an expression of a Mi'kmaq woman's identity in the community. Symbols on caps outlined an individual's personal experience and status. Wearing the cap is an honor and a source of pride. In recognition of this important tradition, an initiative was undertaken to assist in the healing process for surviving family members of the missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. To bring them together to share their stories about their shared experiences, supporting one another on their healing journeys. Over the course of several sessions in 5 different communities, workshops were held. The emphasis was on commemoration and the celebration of the lives of their murdered or missing family member. Family members were invited to create their own personalized peaked caps under the guidance of facilitators who were chosen by the families from within their circle. This represents one of the phases of the Peaked Cap project, one of 3 phases of the project. The other phases include creation of a coloring book and a curriculum around the peaked cap. The final phase involves the creation of an art piece to be displayed in a public area in each community.
My role is to coordinate these sessions for the families of Wapna'kikewi'skwaq and Membertou. So coordinating the peak cap, which is what we call the Wapna'kikewi'skwaq. So educating the families exactly what is it? What is the peak cap? Where did it originate from? Where did it come from? And what's the significance of it as well? So again, with that, what we're doing is teaching our families on how to make the peak cap as well. What goes into that work, designing it, the significance of the design to them in regards to their families, in regards to the memory that they want to keep. So again, some of them have things that are dear to them. For instance, some have used eagle feather designs, some have used the peak cap, some have used the dragonflies, some have used the butterflies, the florals. It's what they want it to be. So traditionally they say it always has to be the Mi'kmaq curve, the 2-row stitching, but for us it's unique. It's what you want it to be. What is that medium that you want to use? So some of the things that we do, well, I've taught, is yes, we can do the beadwork. We can do bigger beads in regards to like pearl size, so like a 4mm pearl. We can do applique work. We can do, as I witnessed last night, felt work on them. There's many ways to do them, so it's not specifically, it's traditional, but at the same time, giving a little twist on to personalize it for ourselves.
The black material on a peak cap represented an elder. And again, it's almost like the maturity, the stages of life. And then the purple was, peak cap was worn by a woman that was in the childbearing stages, years. And the red was for the young women that perhaps just started their moon time, and that signified that they would have a ceremony and deliver the red cap that was made for the young woman, or you know, the childbearing stage of the female, or the black cap for the elder. And usually everyone was done with a ceremony, or somebody very close to these women made them and presented, had a ceremony and like food celebration, and was they were honored with these peaked caps.
And so can you go from the top?
From the top, this is just the point of the peaked cap, and it's usually your from point to the peaked cap up here is 10 inches. And then you want to know, like some people like to have the peaked cap rounded around their face, and as it was stated before, that they used the skull of a moose or a deer to find out where the jawline was and the neck, so it fit. So here on your peak cap, you would start at the very top here, and you would measure down to 8.5, And right at the 8.5 point here, that's where the curve would start. And that's just to give it more balance so that it doesn't fall off your head or when you're moving your head around. And then designs were added to the back. But also, you have to know that from one corner of the peaked cap over to the other side of the pattern is 9 inches. You have to have 2 of these, as stated here, to have a full 18 inches for your peaked cap. Then down the bottom, usually they put their designs or whatever they wanted to put. Some of them had them very plain. Back in the older days, they were very plain. I wanted this peaked cap project to be about the healing opportunity and support for our women and people that endured the violence. So I had already spoke to our women in regards to creating a family design to represent their loved ones and their story and their life the way that they want to tell it, and honor the spirit and honor the spirit world. We started out with a prayer. Today, or I should say, we talked about their loved ones. We talked about Nora and we talked about Marie. With both ladies were murdered. Nora was my mother, and Barbara Sylvester, her mother's name was Marie. So we wanted to create or think about designs that represented them. So I did give them homework to go home and think about it to see what resonated with them. What was their thought process when they thought about their loved ones? Was it a blue jay? Was it a butterfly? Was it an eagle feather? Something to signify the legacy of their loved one that was murdered. So today, my ladies are cutting out their patterns. They're tracing the peak cap designs. They're given their materials. And so now we're going to start more or less given plain paper so they can design their own legacy for their loved one, you know, to represent them and in their healing journey, in the healing process.
From these hats, we'll be making a coloring book to also commemorate, to educate as well, to keep people in the understanding of what MMIWG means, is about, and to bring light to not just the individual stories, but also, which are important, but to continue to call for respect for women, and to continue to solidify and nurture the importance of women in our society, Indigenous women in our society.
So she's a little girl, and
she was 9.
She was 9, and Bobby was
4.
I love what they're doing. They're putting all different types of mediums on here, and you know, the Mi'kmaq culture, we're always evolving to what we have available, and making use of what's available. And we're very fortunate this time and age, we could basically use anything, you know, but as long as they have a representation of the story that they want to tell, and they want to have this as a beautiful memory, I think, of the 3 children that passed away.
Yeah.
I always wanted to make one, always, you know, so here's my chance, and I'm taking it, and it'll be a special hat. You know, not just a made hat, but it'll have some meaning behind it. And my baby sister would be that part of that meaning. It also reminds me that never to get into another bad situation where I was in domestic violence for years, and there were several times almost my life was in danger, you know, And like Emily there, when my boys, I always talk to them about how to treat their women, you know. And I always told them that, you know. Same with my daughter. When she got married, I told her husband never to lay a hand on my daughter because she would have to deal with me. You know, so.
We talked about here as a group how we would put the person we were doing it for, and I'm doing it of course for my mom. So I've made my mom, I turned my mom into a butterfly so that she can always be in my peaked hat. She's right there on the top. So not quite sure what colors I'm going to make yet, but we'll get there. I haven't got there yet.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, so I think I was told, everything will come to me when I get to that, but I'm right here now, I'm just threading, so.
When they told me what it was for and when they explained, you know, what you wanted to put on the hat and what you wanted it to represent, like I went home and I thought about it, and to me, I'm going to show you and I'll explain it to you.
Hold it up in front of you. Yeah.
This here, this is the claw of the bear, which will represent me. The little claws here represents each of my grandsons. The bear in the middle represents my only granddaughter. That's what that is. And then of course the love for my grandchildren and my sister is for each heart. And then this one on the bottom, there's the feather here. This claw represents my sister. And in the feather, you'll have the red ribbon that belongs to my sister. That's what mine will, for me, it is.
It is about commemoration a bit, so a lot. So, you know, you don't have to go strictly traditional. You can kind of jazz it up, and that's why I kind of pulled up another image that I'll show you too, which is kind of different, like as far as being a little bit more modern or contemporary and having a different meaning. Yeah, that one's a good example.
I made a double curve that reminded me of a spiral.
I think it's a good project. It helps with my healing. I thought of a lot of stuff. I thought of justice and a lot of stuff. But now it's the red dress. I'm making a red dress on my peak cap in honor of my daughter, Cassidy.
As opposed to using that stuff, the fray check, I don't know what they call it, some kind of glue you put on there to stop it from fraying, is really a mess. I don't like using it. So I learned how to just burn the edges a little bit, and it stops them from shredding on you, unraveling on you. Wow. Do not hold the flame too long because it will catch fire. How do I know? I've done that.
And I did
that. Yeah.
I just burnt mine.
And she just burnt hers, so yeah, so professionals only. Don't do this at home.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
There you go. All four sides.
Yep, all four sides.
And it burns it nice and good, huh?
Yep. Yep, it just enough. Myself. All these techniques are my techniques, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Very talented.
Trial and error. All of it is trial and error, guys.
Yep.
What I'm doing right now is I came last week and I talked to the girls, and I really didn't know what I was going to do. And by the time I left in 20 minutes, by the time I left, they knew all these kids that had died in the fire, which were Annie's kids. And I ended up saying, oh my God, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this for Randy, for her children, because she loves to, she's always thinking of her kids. She never forgets them. So this would be an ideal thing to make for a cap. So that's why she's here now, because she's helping me. Like, we're looking for birdstones right now, and the kids, Paul loved the butterflies, so we found a butterfly here. Paul was
my oldest son.
How old? I'm not going to be here.
He was 7.
7.
Yeah.
Paul.
Paul, yeah.
And he loved butterflies.
Yeah. And we're sort of making this picture of the kids. So Veronica's in the middle, so she's the little girl, and
She was 9.
She was 9, and Bobby was
4.
4. Robert. What we're going to do here, we're trying to get them to join hands, so like Veronica will be holding both her brothers in both hands.
I hope I'm getting better from Cassidy. It hurts every day, but this helps, right? Like today, for example, I was home, and I don't know if it's because it's family day or what, but I was crying all day, and I was upset all day, and it was both, because I missed them, right? And I just think a lot. But then when Karen messaged me that she was down here, I got ready and I just came.
And what changed since you came?
I feel a lot better. I don't feel so sad. I feel good being with family, my mom and other ladies, wonderful ladies. I feel good.